Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
California. What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying.
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Welcome to Corner of the Galaxy, the show that talks 100% LA Galaxy soccer. We're glad you could join us. Now it's time to sit back and relax as your hosts navigate through the twisting, turning, but never boring world of your six-time MLS Cup champion, LA Galaxy.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on a Thursday, January 15th. That's right, January halfway done. LA Galaxy through their first week of preseason here, doing all those fun workouts, running around on the track stadium, training on the track stadium. That's how you know it's preseason, over on the track stadium. They're keeping it real, getting gritty in Carson. We're going to watch it and see how they're preparing for all that. And as we say, let's see if defense really wins championships, because right now the Galaxy sort of look like a defensive team. We're going to talk about that, a little Coachella stuff coming up as well, some little tiny things that come in terms of transfers and all that fun stuff. So we're going to go and talk about all that stuff, and to help us do all that, we're glad he's back. It's Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira. Eric, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. I'm with you. January. How'd we get halfway through? We're already halfway through. The boys are back in town. They're training, like you said, at the track and field stadium. I like that. That's when you're gonna want to get real, want to get gritty, we go to the track and field stadium. That's where it all goes down. We're not in front of the palm trees. We're going to the Dominguez Hills campus to really show how things are done. Get those horns up. Go Toros there. So yeah, I like the framing there. So again, 2 weeks in a row. Let's see what else we have to talk about.
You got to earn the palm trees. That's what they're saying right now. That's what
like
Greg Vanny's
Greg Vanny's earn the sticker on the helmet. Yeah,
you're like, listen, you guys want to train under the palm trees? You train under the. Dude, we've talked about that before, right? The guy who came out and said, hey, they used to train in the back, right? The Galaxy used to train on the backfields. When David Beckham was there, it was easier to control and all that sort of things. And then even whenever he left, they sort of stayed in those backfields, the ones that are up above the track and field stadium, so on the east side of the stadium there. And they would have to walk across and up the stairs into the loading bay under the stadium. You walk up the stairs, you come out this door, you walk across the street, and then you would go into those gated ones. And it was Robbie Keane who said, listen, you got these palm trees out here. If you have pictures of guys training under palm trees, like in Southern California weather, you're going to be set. Like, that's where you want to show everybody where you train. You train under the palm trees, guys,
The original Inter-Miami recruiting strategy. Yeah, before you get messy. Obviously, Beckham was the big draw, but the palm trees, you're gonna sway a lot of people in the direction there.
Yeah, it's not a bad call. So yeah, it was Robbie Keane who said definitely got to go to the palm trees. So we're into preseason now. Coachella Valley Invitational is just around the corner, and because of that, we do, of course, as we tend to do on this, do have some breaking news for you here regarding the Coachella Valley Invitational coming up in February. Now, the LA Galaxy have 2 games, right? There's a midweek game on a Wednesday, and there's the February 8th game where they'll be playing against the Chicago Fire. And we are here to announce today that not only will the LA Galaxy be at Coachella Valley Invitational, but, of course, Corner of the Galaxy will be at the Coachella Valley Invitational on February 8th. So starting right after the LA Galaxy versus Chicago Fire, COG will have a live show. This will make it our 3rd year in a row, so thank you to the LA Galaxy for inviting us back. We'll be featuring interviews with the LA Galaxy players, so we're going to have at least one player on there. We're going to have Greg Vanny on there. Usually we can line that up, no problem. I would imagine we would have guys like maybe Tom Braun on there or Will Kuntz if they are available. Maybe as in the photo, the mustache man himself, Mr. Tom Bogert, might stop by if he's also at CVI, which he usually tends to be. But we're going to have a nice fun time out there. So again, February 8th, after the LA Galaxy take on the Chicago Fire, immediately after that, we will go ahead and get live. It will be at the same place as of right now, the same place that we were last time as well. So if you know that, sort of just off the side, just off the corner, and you will be able to find us there. So yes, absolutely, live show, locked in, Coachella Valley Invitational, LA Galaxy. I actually suggested they also bring back out the MLS Cup too. Like, you need to bring out the MLS Cup. And they're like, well, you know, it made sense last year. I'm like, it always makes sense to bring out the MLS Cup, all right?
Well, here's the correct move. Obviously, last year it was the timing of it. You bring out MLS Cup.
Right,
you know what you do now? You bring out all six. You just have all six on. You just place it all out on the table. Let everyone know what's happening there. So again, I think you never don't bring out MLS Cup. Is that a slogan? That doesn't work on a shirt as good. That's not as good as the trophies stay in the cabinet, but never not bringing out MLS Cups. I don't know. I feel like there's something there.
Not to go too inside baseball, but in the meeting for this, whenever I was having the meeting, I said, as Hammer always says, they can't take the trophies out of the cabinet. So bring them with you. All right. Bring them with you.
Yeah. I was going to say the influence of the Hammer is always there. We have Stairway to Seven. I saw that starting to catch on, make its way there. And then, of course, the trophies stay in the cabinet. I also have breaking news here.
Wait, hold on.
Do we want to play the jingle?
Do it.
Oh, right. Maybe I can't hear it. I'm sure it played.
Yeah,
couldn't hear it on my side,
You're
but
good.
I'm sure it's there. For the listeners at home, breaking news. I was extremely jealous that you have a picture at CVI of a man with a mustache, and it's not me.
Yes, it
I'm
wasn't
jealous
you.
of Tom Bogert, and so my shine was not going to be taken away. I will be making my way to the Coachella Valley Invitational. Don't call it Coachella. I'll be there. I'll be there with the fam, making a trip of it. So I will finally be out at Coachella Valley Invitational, be there for the live show, be there to see everyone who attends the event. Excited to be there, part of the show, interviewing the players. I know when we've done that at the stadium in the past, it's always been a great time. So I'm excited to continue to be part of it and go out there and spend some time with you and the Panda and the whole gang, all the Galaxy crew, and of course seeing all the fans and listeners out there. It'll be a good time. So I'm excited to be back, heading westward again, checking out the LA Galaxy, watching some live soccer. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. Also, the Panda's going to be in Milan. So that dude's over for the Winter Olympics.
Out.
Yeah, he's
so
out.
I better do my best Panda impression. I'll mute my mic and everything. I'll be good to go.
I had several people, by the way, after Monday's show again. They go. I come for the Galaxy news, but I stay for Panda's technical difficulties at the beginning of every show. By the way, I really feel he signs in at 7:45, which is like what I always tell you to sign into, but you usually don't sign into like 7:53 or whatever, right? That's fine. I don't care. It doesn't bother me. But he signs in at 7:45. He gets there early. We set everything up.
You have a conversation. Yeah.
I'm like, everything's working. It's working great. For whatever reason, I hit record, and all of a sudden he's like, I can't hear anything. I can't. Hello. You're like, and I'm like, what is going on? So anyway, no. We are super excited to be invited back. So that's a really awesome thing. I mean, we could play the breaking news segment one more time, and why not? Let's just do it. So we'll do it one more time. The last bit of breaking news is that the LA Galaxy have been nice enough, along with the Coachella Valley Invitational, obviously put on by Golden Voice and AEG and everything that goes on there, have been nice enough to award us 2 VIP passes to the Coachella Valley Invitational.
We did it.
We did it,
folks.
100%. So we will be giving those back. So yeah, can't wait to give those away. Pay attention to the podcast on Monday. We'll start getting that set up and ready to go for you on Monday, but we will be giving out 2 VIP passes to the Coachella Valley Invitational for that February 8th day. I've been told, I don't know if I'm allowed to share this, but I think you could probably imagine that the February 8th tickets are selling the best day. And if you go on here, you can see all the teams that obviously are going to be there. But on the day that February 8th is, yes, it is Super Bowl Sunday. I have done this now multiple times, okay? For 3 years in a row on Super Bowl Sunday, I have done a live show at CVI. I have been able to get back in time for the game. You should be able to get back in time for the game. You don't have to pack everything up after the show is over. So you have at least a good 45-minute to an hour head start on me, so you should be able to make it back for Super Bowl. So you will have time. But the LA Galaxy playing at 10 a.m. against Chicago Fire. Then it's LAFC at 12 p.m. against New York City FC, which, of course, the LA Galaxy are kicking off the season against New York City. So if you wanted to, after the LA Galaxy game, slide on over to the other game. After you see our live show, of course, just catch the end of that game. Right. After that show, you could go over there and slide over there. But we'd love to have you. Love your support. It's one of those things that we usually kick off. It has been sort of a habit at Coachella Valley Invitational that we do get to talk to some of the newer players. Yeah. So I would hope that perhaps we get one of the two new defenders there that we could talk to, either Guesman or Hack. So. That would be really fun to sort of get. And then we always get to talk to Tom Braun, and we always get to talk to Will Kuntz and Greg Vanny and anybody else we can sort of find who's standing around and hanging out there that you guys might be interested in. So please come on out. Please hang out and do the whole thing. By the way, I got jams. It's the Winter Olympics in Milan. That's why he's going to Milan. So in Italy, there's the Winter Olympics. Have you been following the whole ice hockey scandal?
At the rink, you know? Right?
Yeah.
Isn't it the rink a lot smaller than it needed to be? Yeah, it is interesting. I have been catching glimpses of that, so I'm sure the Panda will get to the bottom of it. I think that's the funny thing, and I got jammed. So brings up a great point. Kevin's really endearing. I do want to say that.
Apparently to some people, it's not to me. Just he drives me crazy.
But the audio issues, you think, okay, what's happening here? And someone mentioned it's like my mom who can't get the volume on the remote. But then you forget, okay, this guy's been working in journalism a long time, works for the LA Times. That's a big deal in covering the Olympics. And it's like, oh yeah, Kevin's that guy also. So it's always nice to get those reminders.
Really sort of interesting to watch the LA Galaxy as they've been going through. I don't know. Again, if there's no pictures of you in the preseason at this point, we know something's going on, right? So I would certainly look at the pictures and notice that you have not seen Zonka anywhere there. Yeah. Last time I checked,
put the puzzle pieces together.
Yeah, right. This isn't hard. And he seems, by the way, very happy to be working hard at his fashion stuff and some of the stuff that he's doing right now. That may be where he's headed. You know, the whole deal. If there is an official announcement with that and all that, we'll certainly let you know. But as of right now, there's been no Zonka pictures at all. Heavy on the Hack and Guesman because they're new players, and you would expect it. That's what you want to see. There was one. Maya Yoshida posted a picture. Did you see the Maya Yoshida one? I didn't grab it. Yeah,
there was a cast of characters in there that I was not familiar with. Before you move on to that picture, I just want to say I always like the beginning of the year when you get to see some of the new faces in the Galaxy gear. And again, if I can be respectful while I say this for a moment, Hack and Guesman, talk about some specimens. Those are going to be some dudes back there. So I think we have that to look forward to as someone who enjoys their defenders to be physical and kind of commanding. They look like they command a presence. So again, shout out to Guesman and Hack because they definitely look the part. They look like proper center backs, with a good build there. So again, I'm excited to see them in the LA Galaxy uniform.
Is there? I mean, listen. I don't mean to be superficial. These guys, these
are photos. They are photos are superficial. It is what it is. I'm just saying.
Yeah. But I know that there are human beings under all this. Maybe more so than most people. I get to interact with them a little bit more, and certainly they're just people. They're just very talented people, like top like 0.5% people. Whenever you look at it. But like soccer players and the physique, just like it's such a specific. All very balanced physique, right? Like, you get baseball players, sometimes they're, big upper body.
Top heavy.
Yeah. You're like, okay, yeah, I get that. Need a lot of arm strength, the whole deal. Football players, it depends on what position they're sort of at, but like just sort of crazy large specimens, almost regardless of where you look. Basketball players are ridiculously tall. And like the proportion, we get lulled to sleep by the fact you watch them on television and that you can't, because they're standing next to each other.
They're
you can't
amongst
tell
their peers.
Yes, yeah. These gentlemen are giants, right? Absolute giants in terms of tall. Like hockey players are probably second in terms, but they're usually missing teeth and everything else. So by the way, not a bad thing. Love me some hockey players, right? The whole deal. But it's like the balanced physique of a soccer player is like I can run a marathon or I can sprint faster than you. Like I can either sprint faster than you or I'll run a marathon faster than you. It doesn't matter either of those. And I'm toned across my entire body. I don't know what that feels like. For like 6 months once I was in pretty good shape, and that was about it. But yeah, it's just impressive. And these guys are coming. This is the off season. This is them being all flabby, you know?
Well, yeah, they can't get too far off the wagon here. It does remind me of a conversation I was watching. It was a podcast clip of a show where, people do sports takes with one another, and they were saying, who's more athletic, NBA players or soccer players? And there was someone who wanted to argue that NBA players are more athletic, and then the person in favor of the soccer players mentioned, imagine your favorite basketball player trying to do a bicycle kick.
Yeah.
The agility and what that requires. A soccer player, on average is, not that everyone is scoring a bicycle kick a game, but they're capable of putting their body in that form of motion. And that takes, like you said, an all around toned movement in, kind of an athleticism beyond just, being tall and fast and strong, which again, that's not to me to bash, football players or basketball players, not to say they're not athletic, but I think when you want full package, I think soccer players get there. Did you have info on the Maya Yoshida picture? And
it was, I didn't have it to bring it up. I just saw it, and then I was like, oh yeah, that's the whole thing. But there was a certain red-headed young man who was back behind Maya Yoshida, which would lead you to believe, obviously, that Dylan Vanney is training with the first team.
Deservedly so.
Deservedly. Oh, 100%. That's
Yes.
why I have to keep saying it, because I know people
Yes.
are like, whatever, like they turn it on. I'm like, no. Top prospect in the academy probably right now.
Yeah.
That's the guy you'd want to be up with the first team right now.
I was going to say, if there are no Dylan Vanney fans, then that means I am dead, folks.
Yeah, 100%. No, he's one of those guys who you want to keep an eye on, and he's one of those guys, and we've talked about it before. I don't see playing for the LA Galaxy first team, but to see him in the mix. This is the time. This is the time. This is normal. Yes. You're going to see some of the younger guys, whether it's academy or G2, Ventura County guys, come up and train the preseason. One, they need numbers for games. Two, they want everybody together because they're all learning the same style of play. But this gets a chance for them to be seen by the first team, right? And some of those guys, 99% of those guys who are up there right now are not going to make the team, and that's fine. But there may be some guys who they're like, this guy can compete in Major League Soccer, and maybe we should put him. And that's sort of what you want to see with Dylan Vanney. I don't know that we're going to see a whole bunch of that if we do get anything. But we've talked about the difficulties that I think. Remember, Greg Vanney is probably the agent here as well, like the coach and the agent. It gets if you're Will Kuntz, you're putting a contract offer together for Dylan Vanney, and it goes over to Greg Vanney and his agent, like that type of thing. So, but I think that's going to be difficult for him to be a first team with the Galaxy with his dad as coach. But that doesn't mean that he shouldn't be where he is, and he should be. And if this was anybody else, you'd be demanding that he's getting some playing time here in the preseason. So I'm interested when we make it to CVI, is Dylan with the rest of the team and sort of that. So something to watch.
I think we have a great case study in the past that we can look at, and that's Michael Bradley and Bob Bradley. I think those questions may have been there at the beginning of Michael Bradley's career, but over the course of it, there was no question that guy belonged on the field at every team that he ended up going to. And I think it's just a matter of, the proof, playing out on the field. And that's what it comes down to. And you never know. I think back to, I don't know if it was last CVI or maybe 2 CVIs ago. I believe it was Tucker Lepley, who, again, maybe we weren't, people weren't totally convinced that this was going to be a first team LA Galaxy player. And he had a great Coachella Valley Invitational, really showed that he belonged at that level, and he ended up being, a great part of the roster over the last couple seasons. So not to say that everything, is hanging on these CVI matches, but there's definitely, you're going to be playing against MLS caliber competition, and if a player looks like they could hang there, they could probably hang there at that level. So this is the opportunity to test that out.
I have to unmute my microphone when I want to talk. I know how to do this.
Is that how that works?
It's preseason for everybody, Eric. All right, we're just trying to hang in there. No, so we're sort of seeing that a little bit too. I think there's some younger players in there that are sort of coming around too. So again, all stuff to watch. There's nothing that's definitive here or anything else. We can certainly, before we go into talking, and I think we have to talk about sort of where the roster is right now and what you expect out of this roster. Like right now, if nobody else comes in, where do you feel like the Galaxy are strong? Where do you feel like they're weak? And I I know where they're weak, and we all know where they're weak, but at the same time, are there enough strengths around them that you say, okay, this is still a team that I think you can get behind and sort of tread some water for a little while, right? Maybe you're not the best team in the league, the whole deal, but can you go out and win some games and keep yourself into the playoffs instead of, not winning one game in the first 16 games? That's the record the Galaxy are trying to beat right now, is winning a game in the first 15 games, and you did better than last year. Good job, everybody. No, it's so that's something to look for as we go forward. One is, and I saw this rumor popping up and people were sort of freaking out. And I want to talk about this real quick. And I purposely did not tell you anything about this because I want to ask you some trivia questions. And almost none of these have to. Yeah.
Are these the words that are on the screen? I'm not familiar with about.
Yeah.
I think 10 out of the 12 words that are there.
Yeah. Kick a Ball Pod is reporting that Fairleigh Dickinson player Arnau Rabassa will start training with the LA Galaxy next week. Now, Rabassa is a surprisingly enough a Barcelona academy player at one point or another, has been in the United States and is at a college. This college is called Fairleigh Dickinson University. Eric, for 10 points, can you tell me in which state Fairleigh Dickinson resides? I'm
just process of elimination.
Yes.
Looking at word composition here.
Yes.
I think Raleigh. I think Farley. So I'm thinking one of the Carolinas.
No.
East Coast. Dickinson feels like an East Coast.
Okay.
So am I? If I said South Carolina, would that be crazy?
You would be too far south. You'd be too far south. And by
maybe
the way,
north. Is it like a Connecticut, a Maine?
It's not. It's okay. Now too far
I'm
north.
off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's in the middle.
So Fairleigh Dickinson University, I had no idea, by the way. FDU Knights, by the way, is the largest private university in the state of New Jersey.
New Jersey.
I had no idea.
There you go.
No idea.
Bon Jovi.
Yeah. By the way, if you look at some of the pictures of this school, and how it's it looks like Skulls. Do you remember Skulls back in the way? Joshua Jackson, Leslie Bibb. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. One of my favorite movies, by the way. So just a classic.
That's I think we've talked about the faculty on here. Skulls is in there. There's a certain, there's a 1997 to 2002 range. Skulls was right in there.
Okay.
You hit me right between the eyes with that one.
Okay, there you go. Good. Okay, so that was it.
Can I share again?
Yes.
Again, Kick a Ball Pod. Feel free to call me out for my lack of ball knowledge here. But I thought his full name was Fairleigh Dickinson player Arnau Rabassa. I was like, what a name! What an incredible name. Oh, it's a college play. Okay, now it all starts to kind of snap into focus and make sense. So we'll see. Again, not familiar, but the college system seems to have right now is geared towards players who were in European academies who maybe didn't find first team routes. You see a lot of that in the college soccer system here in the United States, and I think there's a great pathway to MLS. A lot of players take that kind of alternate pathway through universities, like Akron, like Indiana is another one that pops up. So there's just a lot of universities that have this pathway for players who maybe fell out of favor. They started in academies at a very young age, 12, 13, 14 years old. And then, of course, how difficult is it to get into a first team? So what else can you do, when you're quote unquote washed up at, 17, 18 years old? Well, there's, places in the United States that will pay your education to come play at their school. And I think it's a great pathway. And so we'll see what this guy can do once he gets on the field. If, those reports are true and we end up seeing what happens.
Yeah, I think we're looking at, everybody always says the training with the LA Galaxy. I think we're probably thinking more Galaxy 2 or Ventura County on this. And that's fine. But again, right now, there is no separation between those two teams, right? For the most part, it seems like they're training together and sort of do that. So I didn't want to get anybody too excited. I just had to look up Fairleigh Dickinson University. Go Knights. I had no idea. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Fairleigh Dickinson has to be a person, right? I mean, that sounds like a fictitious name.
Yeah.
But a fantastic name.
If you made up a name, that would be the name.
Yeah, if you were going to make one up, that'd be top tier for sure.
That would be awesome. So anyway, that's something to sort of watch out there. The other thing that we have been watching on this podcast is Weston McKennie. Why not? Now,
is it real?
No.
Can you taste it?
I think this makes it less real.
we were stunt casting here, and this is dream scenario if everything works out perfect. I would have loved to have Weston McKennie in an LA Galaxy jersey, I think that fills the Ricky Puig hole and question very nicely. But I wasn't holding my breath, understanding that when you have a player at that level, he still has, other offers are going to come his way that maybe can offer more than what an MLS contract can offer him.
Let's see. We go over to Weston McKennie. This is from Ben Jacobs at JacobsBen on X. Exclusive: Weston McKennie has received initial approaches from 2 Premier League clubs, also interest from Atletico Madrid and within Italy. The 27-year-old Juventus midfielder could move this winter with his contract set to expire this summer. Timing works out well for the LA Galaxy. Juventus have a £10 million, it looks like, in this particular case, valuation. Understand a move to Besiktas is not currently in the cards. That is $13.3 million if you want to do the conversion there. So you're going to have to ask the LA Galaxy to come up with between $13 and $15 million if they want somebody like Weston McKennie. The rules tell me that that's okay. You can do that because the budget charge is still the same for designated player. Again, the spirit of the rule used to be basically that you couldn't get somebody who made more money, and Ricky's making $5 million. And in this particular case, you're looking at a transfer fee all by itself.
That's the difference. Yeah, that's not the salary. So you make it work underneath that, which, in my opinion, I think that's the correct evaluation. I think that's the range between 10 and 15 million for Weston McKennie. I think that feels like the right price.
Yeah.
So it's, if you're going to, going and asking, shaking the cup again, hey, can we have another designated player? I understand that's probably not a fun conversation to go ask.
No, here's if you wanted to pitch Phil Anschutz on Weston McKennie, is you're going to get him because this is a guy who is going to be playing for you for the next 5 to 7 years, right? Like if he comes, he's going
to be a face of the organization, domestic, American, during a World Cup,
during a World Cup, yes,
checking all the boxes, yeah.
So this is one of those things where you're like, we will be fine if Weston McKennie comes here. I would be. So that's the argument, right? This is a long-term play. What happens in the wintertime whenever you might have 4 designated players? Well, one, you hope MLS adds one, so you don't have to worry about that. And maybe this is impetus for MLS to add one as like, well, we're gonna have to lose Weston McKennie. You're not gonna lose Weston McKennie. You're gonna move one of your other guys. Weston can play on the wings, I think, if you want him to. So if you wanted to move a Joseph Paintsel in the wintertime, because everything is sort of done there, you're like, cool. And then you keep Weston staying if you went out to go get Weston McKennie. He's a long-term play.
You get the long-term contract for sure.
So somebody goes $30 Modelo's at Dignity Health Sports Park. That's what it's going to cost.
Isn't that what they cost now? Are they not already $30?
Yeah. I think they're pretty close. So yeah, that's the argument, and that's sort of how the game plan is. I think this makes it a pretty tall ask. By the way, this is not me saying the LA Galaxy don't have the money to be able to do it. It's not saying that Phil Anschutz doesn't have to be. If they wanted to, they could make this deal happen. Right now, Weston would have to buy in, right? He has to be like, I'm okay with not playing in Europe anymore. I want to be home and play for a little bit. I want to play for the LA Galaxy for the next 5 to 7 years. And I'm motivated and will stay motivated to absolutely dominate Major League Soccer whenever I come back, right? Like it's one of those, because if you feel, and Will Kuntz has to feel this out, if this was even an approach, if you feel like Weston McKennie sort of sits there and says, well, this is sort of like a step down, like, I can come there and relax, like type of thing. Red flag, get out. Yeah. You need somebody who's motivated to do their absolute best. And I'm not saying that Weston isn't that guy. I'm just saying you need to be very sure from somebody who's stepping down at he's likely going to go to a Premier League team. I mean, this is where this looks like this is headed. That's certainly what Ben is sort of saying.
I was going to say Nottingham Forest, enjoy Weston McKennie while you have him.
I mean, if that's the caliber of Premier League team that's looking for Weston McKennie, then the Galaxy are in play, right? You're sort of like, hey, yeah, you can go to these places, but do you want to worry about relegation next year? Do you want to that type of thing? So, I think there's a way to make that happen. I do not expect this to happen. I don't even think anybody at the Galaxy is even thinking about it, right? But
this is off-season conversation with all hypotheticals to make it work. To me, why I feel like it makes sense, McKennie also feels like a guy who would enjoy living in LA. I think just his personality, from see the way he plays, seeing him, following him on social media, how he interacts with players, he feels, even though he is from Little Elm, Texas, around the corner from where I am, he feels like an LA guy. He feels like he would fit in Southern California. And so I think that there's an appeal there. And I'm going to say something that, might get me in a little bit of trouble here. There were a couple, Mexican national team players who were brothers who came and seemed to really enjoy the LA lifestyle with Giovanni and Jonathan Dos Santos. They produced some good moments for the LA Galaxy. Again, overall, they left, one of the brothers left a really bad taste in the mouth, but you can do both. You can enjoy the lifestyle and still produce on the field. And I think, again, you want to caution with some of those things if you're using Giovanni Dos Santos as your North Star. But I think that's also, you can flip that as a positive comp as well.
Yeah, coming in at a different time in the career too. So just sort of seeing how that goes. By the way, Aaron says if you can't get Weston, you should try to get his brother Easton. Right? It's like if you have a Weston, there implies that in some universe, in some alternate reality, that there's an Easton McKennie as well.
The multiverse. It's all happening. Which, it's funny enough. I think I've sent you. When I moved out to Texas, there's McKinney, Texas, which is a neighboring town, and then there's a Weston, Texas. So there's literally a sign with arrows pointing in different directions, Weston, McKinney. I was like, this has to be a simulation. This can't be on purpose. Something weird has to be at play here. So it's always funny whenever I drive by that sign. I get a good chuckle.
A great personality in terms of PR for what you're trying to get. Again, you have to sort of figure out that character side of things. I don't have much doubts about Weston McKennie and what he seems to show, and his ability to produce at a club like Juventus. Quite honestly, there's Juventus fans who are like, what are they doing? They need to figure out to re-sign him and keep him. So that's also
from everything. Yeah, from everything I've seen about the Weston McKennie experience at Juventus is that it seems like he's always on the way out, but he seems to always play his way into being irreplaceable. And so to me, that's a guy you want on your team, someone who plays their way into situations where you don't want to lose them. I think, he was supposed to be out of Juve maybe, 3-4 years ago, back when Ronaldo was at Juventus. They were talking about McKennie no longer being there. So I think that's a testament to the effort that he puts in at the clubs that he's at.
By the way, correction and retraction. That was Pottermus who said it. Aaron was just in on the continuing the joke. So I did that.
Yeah, Aaron did have a super chat. We have a couple super chats.
Yeah, we have.
Let's get to those.
Yeah, let's get to them. Why not? First of all, Adam, $2 super chat. Will you guys be going over the Amiro Garces rumors? Amiro Garces? What rumors? Yes, we have that. We will go over that here in just a second. It'll be next up. And then Aaron would like to point out when we were talking about physiques. Aaron says he has the physique of someone who watches soccer. Me too. Yeah, that's it.
Same.
I also have the physique of somebody who sits and rides on trains. So I got a boiler in the back and a good caboose in the rear. So yeah.
Is that a conductor bod? Is that a thing?
It must
There's
be.
dad bod and conductor bod. I don't know. Maybe that's not as desirable there.
We all look exactly the same when we're out there. 100%.
Conductor build. Yeah, I think you can order some of those.
Yeah, you can. Not a problem. You can cosplay that all day long. So anyway, so that's sort of, again, I don't think any of this is serious. If it turns serious, we'll just pretend like we knew it all along, but we really don't. There's nothing here. This is more just wishful thinking. It is the one name that I've heard that's what quote unquote available. You hear it that they're thinking about moving him this winter because they don't want to get nothing for him, right? And so if they can put a deal together, then they're going to try to get some money out of it. But Weston McKennie can move for free in the summertime. So that's where that all stands. Now,
can you wait it out?
Yeah, can you wait it out? Certainly. Pipe Sierra put this out about Garces. He goes, Carlos Amiro Garces is on the radar of Internacional from Brazil, the team that has been tracking the Colombian defender from the LA Galaxy for months. It is true that Pereira, his previous team, owns 30% in case of the sale. The LA Galaxy owns 70% of Amiro Garces as well. With the LA Galaxy having so many defenders, depending on what formation LA Galaxy, Greg Vanney plays, there could be, superfluous defenders, just extras laying around on the shelf. And right now,
bonus points for superfluous, by the way.
Yeah, don't worry, I'll say another word wrong in like 2 seconds. The interesting thing to me is that if Vanny doesn't play 3 in the back, right, then a Garces either sits or Hack sits or Glesnes sits, right? And Yoshida now seems like he's going to be sitting, right? So, and Rindolph is sitting, right? Like, so if you don't play 3 center backs, then Garces doesn't get to play, or Garces is with somebody else and you have to sit somebody else. All of a sudden, the defense gets like real thick in the middle there, even without Zonka. And that's Zonka stuff isn't even official yet. Just haven't seen any pictures of him. So that's certainly something that I think is important to point out, that this could be a way. Somebody in the Discord says, if the Galaxy sell Garces, would that help them get McKennie? And I'm like, well, when you're dropping like $13 to $15 million, getting $3 or $4 million, which is what I would expect, is helpful. It's helpful.
Yeah, it
right?
doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt anybody, right? The whole deal. But I don't know that that's the huge defining factor for anybody in terms of whether or not they're going to move somebody or not move somebody. Maybe you sell Garces and Cuevas, and now all of a sudden you have some money, and people are like, wait a minute, what happened to all the defenders? Yeah, they just disappeared, right?
Well, and then 10 games into the season, someone gets an injury, and then you get real thin at center back, and then now what? And so that's what makes me nervous. Hearing about this, it bums me out a little bit, just because there's question marks now on Garces. I think when he originally came to the team towards that 2024 Cup run, he looked like a player who was going to be Europe bound. Okay, we're gonna get a fee selling this guy onto a team in Europe who figures out how strong of a defender he is. And then it seems like 2025 he kind of soured on the fan base a little bit and maybe wasn't at that same level. You got a lot of inconsistency in terms of what you were going to get, with the emotions that he plays with. Again, that's his strength is he, how hard he plays and how hard he gets after it. But that's also his weakness, is he can, lose his cool and lose his head and put the Galaxy in really difficult situations. So it just kind of bums me out that, one, there's rumors that he's in the conversation being gone, and that it's not a terrible option, because I would have thought, okay, Garces is going to be the center back of the future, but with Hack and Glesnes, it seems like that's a no-brainer. And what, I almost forgot about Rindolph, but how well he played towards the end of last year, he's going to be an excellent addition in a depth role for the LA Galaxy, so that makes me excited. And then it also makes me think about Maya Yoshida, about his captaincy. So if he's not going to be an everyday starter, then who gets the captaincy, and kind of what dynamic does that create? Obviously, with his leadership, he may not need the armband to be a captain and to be a leader in the locker room, but it just makes me think about what direction does the Galaxy go, because I think that's important, because Yoshida was the one who spoke to the media and wore it and really had that leadership role. Wearing the captain's armband was not just something he did because they gave it to him. It was something he took seriously and as a responsibility. And I don't think you can give that role to someone who's not going to be an every game starter. And so that just makes me think, we're going to find out in about a month. We're going to find out what the permutations are. But it does bring a lot of questions as to what is this team actually going to line up as, because it does feel like if you do go 3 in the back, then maybe Yoshida is involved as your starter and Garces is the one who's coming off the bench, and you make those changes as needed, or you spot start Garces depending on who you're playing against and the type of opponent. So again, these rumors just beg more questions in terms of how the Galaxy is going to line up, which makes you excited for Coachella Valley Invitational, because we get to see how Fanny's what his brain is looking like when he sets up these lineups.
I go back to some of the comments in the chat room, and I think these are correct takes too. Is that I am not one of the people who think you should get rid of Emilio Garces. I like the different looks, the LA Galaxy, and by the way, allowing Garces to go out and hunt with 2 other center backs behind him is just
that's what you want, right?
It's sexy football, right? Because you're going to go out there and he's going to hunt people, and he has so much speed that nobody, even if you allow him to hunt and make mistakes, like I'm going to try to pull this off, and if I do, the Galaxy are breaking the other way, right? Like this is going to open up, and now all of a sudden the Galaxy have a counterattack that they didn't have much of last year. But if you can get that broken up, and if there's no penalty for him trying to go out and pick these plays, like you have defenders behind you.
The safety net's there.
okay, good, like go at it. Let the man fly. Now all of a sudden, him putting you in bad positions isn't as dangerous, right? Not saying that you won't get caught on some of them, you will, but you can let him go out there and just cherry pick things. And that's, I think, with him not having the responsibility to 100% get it right all the time would be really awesome. But I have a feeling it would make the Galaxy really dangerous, like in terms of one of the best defenses of Major League Soccer type of dangerous. Now, big jump from a team that was one of the worst defenses to this year, but it is such a new look in this defense. And I think in the first couple games, you're going to see Hack maybe playing in the 6 with Cerrillo suspended for the first game against New York. So, Hack could sit up above, and now you're probably going to play 4 in the back, and, it's going to be Glesnes and Garces in there, and they're going to go at it with Hack sitting in front of them type thing, or you drop Happen and you let Garces play 6, which is just like sort of a crazy destroyer. I don't know if I love that idea, but
the old school stopper route, right?
Yeah, 100%. So I think there's a lot of different things that you get. I think you get versatility from Garces. I think you get speed, you get recovery, you get all those things. So I am 100% okay with sort of everything that the Galaxy are trying to do on defense and making that something that they can still do. You may have an invader on your shoulder. I just want to let you know.
Again, I wanted to clarify because the tail was on screen, and of course you're seeing his best angles.
Yes,
right now.
I'm certainly seeing the dangles.
For everyone who's watching on TV, there was a little tail dangling on the screen. That would be my cat Zeus, who is here. He's in the room. My wife is traveling, so he likes to hang out. So again, just wanted to just grab him and say full transparency. There may be a cat on the loose in the background doing his thing. So again, you saw his backside. Who knows if you'll see his good side later on. So shout out to Zeus. He's my favorite dog in this house, even though he's a cat.
Even though he's a cat, that's good.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's it. But Scott asked why Cerrillo is suspended and picked up, I think, a yellow card in the last game, and that caused him to miss the next game. I believe that was what it was. So that's sort of where we're looking with, what the LA Galaxy can do on defense. And that leads us into, again, I don't know that there's anything that will come of this Garces thing. There's lots of people watch different players all the time. Obviously, somebody wanted it known that Garces was getting, seen or looked at.
Yeah. That's also a wrinkle too. With agents all the time knowing, hey, this is a desired player. We talk about contract extensions and negotiations that happen there. I think that's those are always things that can be in play. And we talked about it with McKennie. Is he someone who does he want to go to a relegation battle team? And then someone in the chat was mentioning the Internacional in Brazil is in relegation battle. So does Garces want to leave the situation and go kind of fight for his life? Figured, in the soccer world in Brazil, or does he want to kind of, establish himself and maybe potentially set himself up for a different move down the road? So those are all questions that the player has to ask himself as well.
Yeah, and they have to figure out what it is. I mean, Eric, though, you look now and you sort of see where this starting lineup could be, right? So we could possibly see that we're looking at, Mitrovic starting in goal. I think that's probably a pretty good, selection there. Now you have to sort of figure out what it could look like in terms of Aude and Glesnes and Garces and Hack playing in the center, and then on the right-hand side is that Yamane who's going to sort of play a wing back there, or is Yamane going to tuck into a 6? Like, there's lots of ways to sort of have a 3-man / 5-man back line that still allows the LA Galaxy to operate more efficiently on the offensive side of things whenever it goes forward. So I think you're going to see those mix of players in there. You also have the ability to add Harbor Miller. You have the ability to add,
Don't
Mauricio
forget
Cuevas.
about Harbor Miller. Yep.
And you have the ability to put in Cuevas on the right-hand side as well. So you can sort of like play those out in terms of, okay, that all looks really good. In the center, you're missing Ricky Puig. We know that. That's one of those holes, and whether or not it gets filled or not, we will certainly find out. Marco Royce is going to be in there. I think Cerrillo is going to be in there. I think Sanabria is going to be in there, right? I think Winder is going to play a more important role this year. By the way, Winder losing the longer hair look now, a little more tighter.
You look Winder,
yeah, that's right. So we'll see how Elijah Winder does there. So I think you're going to see those. Then you get into Peck and Paintsel and how you move those pieces around in order to either get you 2 up top or 1 up top, and whether it's Christian Ramirez or whether it's Nascimento, if that loan gets all worked out and is finalized, and you get Nascimento back. I think that's an okay lineup. Do I wish that there was something stronger at the 9? Yes. Do I wish that there was a number 10 in the midfield? Yes. But if you're going to play like one game and Royce is going to be in there for you, then, you're like, okay, we're sort of playing with something there. Something that certainly has been hinted at, I think, by Galaxy fans too, and I just want to update on this, is whether or not the Galaxy would reach back out to Diego Fagundes now that Ricky Puig is gone, and sort of, hey, guy who knows how to play the system, guy who had success at the end of the year. The Galaxy could probably pretty easily bring in Diego Fagundes now in the spot and pay him kind of whatever money he wants on that. I've been told no contact there at all. And I think that still will sort of play itself out here. So I listen, Diego Fagundes is going to have choices to make. There's going to be teams who want him. There's zero chance he's not going to play. But if the Galaxy were thinking about going that way, they haven't reached out to him. So again, I don't think that, as I've been stating even before Ricky got injured, I don't think that there was a future there. Certainly from the way I was seeing.
Yeah, and from everything we see, you don't want to make an offer that's insulting to someone who put in the time and the effort. And I think if you were going to bring him back, it would have to be at a price that maybe would come at something different. But again, Fagundes has to also kind of see what his options are going to be laying on, and maybe he has some decisions to make about what he's willing to accept or not. Again, you talked about at the beginning of the show, what are the expectations if no one else comes in right now to this LA Galaxy team? What do you expect? Where is this team going to be? And I think with the lack of a true proper striker, it makes me really nervous. It makes you feel a little bit better with the possibility of 5 in the back and the defense strengthening. But you mentioned it with Marco Reus. I think a lot of this hinges on Marco Reus and his ability to stay healthy. When he was on the field, he was the Galaxy's best player last season. I think he didn't win Player of the Year and things like. Did he? He didn't win Player of the Year. Fagundes won Player of the Year. So he didn't win that because he just wasn't on the field enough to kind of earn that. But every time he was on the field, he was a class above and kind of lifted everyone else's game. So to me, if everything is hinging on Marco Reus, this was the thing that we said, 2 years ago when the Galaxy brought him in. Is he going to be able to stay healthy? Is that going to be what helps him contribute? If he's your luxury that you're bringing off the bench, great. That's going to win you MLS Cup, and we saw what happened. But if he's someone that you're going to need to rely on for 34 games, that's where you start to get nervous. So I don't want to be, doom and gloom. Okay, we're going to lose another 16 games out the gate. Right. But as currently constructed, I don't know that this is a playoff team because we saw how this played out last season with fewer firepower options. So it just makes me nervous as currently constructed. All that to say, still enough time to bring in a number 10, someone who could pull the strings, even if it's not at the level of Ricky Puig, someone who can spot gap an MLS version of that, and then bring in maybe another striker. Again, doesn't have to be a Robert Lewandowski type guy to come in, just someone who knows how to put balls in the back of the net in the domestic league. Those players exist. They're out there, and it's just a matter of going to find somebody. I think we were talking about it with Nascimento. Are there no other players? Right. Are the only options Nascimento, extending the loan with Nascimento? Aren't there other soccer players on this continent that we can go and look after? So I think that's the other thing that we have to consider as well, and I imagine the Galaxy has a list of those names to try to figure it out.
And that's the thing that, Kevin brought up, is he the only one? And sort of like, I'd have to imagine there's a reason that you want to go back there. And I think familiarity with the system. And, they must see something from him in that U22 side because they want to go back there and they want to keep developing him. By the way, crazy $5 super chat. Certainly appreciate that. What day is better for fan interaction at CBI? Saturday or Wednesday? Wednesday. It's like you're going to have the place to yourself for the most part. There'll be a lot less people. You get to do what you want to do. So if you're going for fan interaction with players, Wednesday is going to be your better day. 100%. And then also asks, I'm curious, why not Chucky Lozano? Don't think we need a star, just someone reliable at the 9-10. I think Chuky's got his own issues right now. He says he's not leaving San Diego. San Diego says he's not going to play here. So they have to figure out what that looks like.
You saw the impact that he has when he's on the field. Player wise, you want a player on the field who can produce. You want Chucky Lozano on your team. So if that's an option and you can make it work, I think you try to make it work. Of course, you wince at how the exit went in San Diego and what must have happened in that locker room to kind of have things fall apart in the way it did after just one season, that raises some major eyebrows. And I was talking about, some Mexican national team players earlier who maybe created some locker room issues. So again, that raises those same concerns. But in terms of, do you want a guy who can produce, who's a star, who's going to put butts in seats and is going to fill that stadium? Chucky Lozano checks that box. So again, there's other stuff to figure out, but I like the shout.
It's I just the character test is usually the big one there, and I think with all the problems that's gonna fumble that. I think that this LA Galaxy team will do a much better job in terms of the defense. The defense got better. What else got better though? And I think I said this, and I am of the belief, and I said this on Monday. I want to be very clear on this. Teams change every year. I told you how on Monday how you can watch the roster. And then it calculates everybody's age. Every time I open it, it'll recalculate everybody's age. So the roster gets older by day, right? Day by day, it gets older. So it'll be an average of, it'll be an average of like 27.1 when you start. And by the time you're done, it's at 27.9, right? And you're like, oh, it got older, because that's what the roster does, right? It constantly gets older. So you're going to have younger guys who play better, 100%. So you can certainly count on that. I think you're looking at certainly like Cuevas is a guy who I expect big things of this year, right? So that's somebody who you can watch do it. But players also get older. Maya Yoshida is a good point of that, right? Like, so you get older and that means you're going to decline as well. So there's always balances, but teams are living, growing organisms that you don't know. Landon Donovan said it on his podcast. He goes, I never knew how much one guy could change. He goes, I brought one different guy into one of my team, and he goes, and everything changed for the worst, right? Like you can be like, oh yeah, I'm going to bring this guy in and it's going to be good. And it gets worse because of this person. And it's not even like they're a bad person. It's just for whatever reason, it doesn't work. Right. But
it just reminds me, right now, obviously the college football playoffs is happening. You look at the run that Indiana is having and with their coach and kind of what they've been able to do. And I think, why am I bringing this up on LA Galaxy, MLS podcast? I think the more you look around, the more you see good leadership is good leadership, and creating systems and having things in place. It's just good all the way around. And that happens with dynamics, with what you create. So I think part of it is the personalities that you bring in, but I also think part of it is the structures that you set up in place. And again, I'm going to compare it to a classroom. You get that one student in there can change the whole dynamic of the other, 20 to 25 kids in there. And so again, it's people are people, whether it's a classroom, whether it's a team, whether it's a football team, a soccer team, all those things come into play. So I do think, that we're going to have to see what's the impact that Glesnes can have, coming in here and bringing the experience that he has from a Supporters Shield winning teams, that's what he has. Hack having the season that he had. How's that going to change the dynamic? Maybe Yoshida understanding a new role, maybe you get a better version of him because you have someone who's not going to be, wearing the weight of every single game, and understanding that he's going to be able to delegate some of those responsibilities. So this could end up being a great situation, from the defense as well. So again, I'm nervous about the striker and the Ricky backfill, but I think the defense, you kind of previewed it with the title of the show. Defense can be something that ends up saving you. I think you saw how badly they got beat up at the beginning of last season. I think Vanny and Will Kuntz are doing everything in their power to say, we'll figure the goals out, but we're not going to get beat up on these first, 10 to 15 games.
And that's sort of the thing. I think the defense will allow you to tread water, allow you to adjust, allow you to find the pieces that you want to find. CONCACAF Champions Cup comes up before any of that, and that's where it gets dicey, because really, maybe not in the first round, possibly not even in the second round for the LA Galaxy, right, where you're looking at the teams they could possibly be facing. It's probably not super important that the team is 100% dialed in, but if you're going to go beyond that, if you're going to challenge for something in CONCACAF Champions Cup, then you're going to need to have something figured out by then. And so I think the Galaxy understand it. I think Greg Vanny understands it. I think Will Kuntz understands it. There is a clock on this. It's probably not as soon as everybody else would like it to be, but there's a clock. Aaron asked about if it's more difficult for teams or for players to come into the United States with all the immigration stuff going on. We actually saw some like even with Nascimento, because he's Brazilian and Brazil is on the list of people where apparently they're not processing visas anymore. And by the way, it seems like it's a pause, and that may be on like more permanent visas type things. And perhaps it's not just the, the talent, the P1 visa that is in that. But if that happens, it's going to be more difficult to do that. One of the reasons the Galaxy wanted to stay, I think, more local this year, in terms of getting guys who have permanent status in the United States, and doing some of the shopping within the league, which they have now done with Guesman and Hack, is to avoid some of those pitfalls. Right? Is to avoid some of that sort of dragging anything out, because I doubt at the very best it's going to make things more difficult. Right. And so that's the best. And if it's the worst, it's going to be impossible. Right.
Yes. I think you nailed it. Things are not going to be easier no matter what. I think that's the situation that we're in right now. Some insight that I do have, and I'm not going to mention names or companies, just, with some of these countries who are on these lists of, bringing people in and having work visas and different things. From my understanding in some of these situations is it's crazy to get these things to happen, but there's also not necessarily tons of enforcement on, who's checking this and that. So if they're able to get the player in here and get them working, then there may not be that follow-up. Obviously, it's a little bit different with the boxes that you need to check, for roster regulations, and that's a different thing. But there's that side of it as well, where maybe everything's kind of in flux. So in some ways that makes it a lot more difficult, but in other ways, maybe you don't have to, be as buttoned up as you had to be in the past.
Yeah. And by the way, Aaron says maybe not even don't even worry about harder, but just less appealing for players. Yeah. I would imagine trying to go through any of that process would be.
That's 100% a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, also, if there's a lot of money involved, then the player will be like, I'll go through that process. The whole, if at the end of it, at the end of the rainbow, there's a pot of gold, I'll go down that search. So that's something. Before we leave, I wanted to get when we talked about defense a little, and I just want to wrap that up, and the fact that yes, the Galaxy have gotten better defensively. They're relatively unchanged in a lot of places, but I think where they strengthened was good. We talked about strengthening the spine. There were certainly some rumors about goalkeeper, but I think Mitrovic is going to be settled into that role. I would expect that he's the starter, and I would expect that he doesn't lose that spot this year. And if he falters, or if they think that there's going to be a problem, then JT Marcinkowski, who's been in pictures and we've seen him in the preseason already, will be ready to step in for that. So I think this is the last year you sort of get Marcinkowski as I'll sit on the bench and watch guy. After this, you're probably going to have to move him, and you might even have to move him by the end of the year type thing. So again,
you just made me nervous again, because I just think back to last season, because we all felt, or at least on this, representatives of this show felt like John McCarthy earned that position, and it just seemed like any little tiny thing was going to be the thing that, okay, well, we're switching to Mitrovic, and it seemed like, okay, well, now we're sick, and Mitrovic is going to be our guy, but he made the errors, and then you went back and forth. So it does make me nervous that, game 1 or 2, Mitrovic comes out, makes a silly mistake, and then the calls start coming for JT Marcinkowski, and then who knows how that impacts the locker room and the mental side of it. So that is something I want to believe in Mitrovic, and I want to say that he has the ability to be there, but I just haven't seen it. He needs to go out there and prove it, because right now I'm feeling more nervous about the goalkeeper situation this season than I was last season.
Galaxy need to go out and either get a 10 or a striker. That has to happen in this first transfer window, right? Like you can't,
even if it's not the flashy, big name European, gonna sell the jerseys signing. You need another striker who has the resume of putting balls in the back. You're gonna need someone. Someone had mentioned, Mihailovic. I believe he landed in Toronto. That type of player, where it's not going to be, the big name, but it's not going to be flashy, but it's going to be someone who knows how to get the job done. And so that's the type of player that I think the Galaxy need.
So that's certainly, I think if the Galaxy land a 10 or they land a striker and they only need to do one in this window, but have to fill that spot in the next window, right? So whichever one you're not going to get, you have to do it in the summertime. So
during the World Cup break, I think is the perfect time to get whichever one you don't get now.
That's 100%. So maybe, and again, if you're looking for a big name, summer might be a better chance to try to get the big name, right? So again, we'll watch that as it continues to go, but then the Galaxy get significantly better. Borderline playoff team in terms of no striker, no midfielder, but I actually think that they're going to be more than fine. Eric, you were sort of talking in text messages. We were sort of saying it's Miami and then everybody else, right? That type of thing. And so
with who they're signing, it just seems like that's going to be a supporters shield, and then maybe someone could pick them off, in the playoffs. But they're going to be, top of the league for most of the season, I would imagine.
Yeah, so that's sort of where we're going to sit with that. Last thing before we go, kit. This is the best view we've gotten of it so far. Listen, I'm not like super high on any of the leaks right now, just in terms of there's just not a lot that you can see. What we are seeing from this, in case you can't tell, or you're listening, is that we are seeing defined blue stripes on the shoulders. So is it the emulets? Is that what it's called? Or the epaulets?
Epaulets. I think it's epaulets.
Yes, epaulets. Mm-hmm. Yes. So like in that epaulet.
But epaulets have a button, right?
I know. Yeah, they do. But like this is the thread version of an epaulet. All right. That's sort of what I was going to say.
The 3 stripe. Yeah. The 3 stripes.
The 3 stripes from Adidas, as has been customary. So a return to that. We're fairly certain there's a sash on this because the sash has been something that we talked about. I don't think you got your collar. No collar and sash and 3 stripes.
So I may have read that wrong. I think during the offseason we had talked about the type of collar. I think it's not going to be like when they were describing the collar, it wasn't, a defined like popped collar. It was the way the collar is designed. I think there's an overlap.
Okay.
So it's not like it's
not
big
like
collar. It's the way it overlaps in the front. From other Adidas jerseys that I've seen, it's going to kind of make it work. I think this one, it doesn't get us as excited. I think 2 years ago with the yellow stripes, that was different. That was something that the Galaxy hadn't moved to in a while. This, back to the blue stripes, it's like we've seen the blue stripes.
This is the problem. Yeah. This is the problem with having a defined color scheme
and a white kit.
And a white kit, yes. You're going to have X number of versions, and that's why the second kit or the change kit is always the one that we sort of look at, because we're like, hey, that could be fun because you get to do it
where you have fun
different.
With it.
Yeah, this is going to be business. This is business. It's business in the front, party in the back. All right. This is the mullet of the LA Galaxy's kits is the white kit is the front. It's business in the front. And it's always going to be, and it's going to be the kit that they wear more of than any other one that they wear. Mostly because most teams' home color is a solid color and
it's
not
white.
Yes.
Not a lot of other teams. I don't think there's any other team that has a home. Maybe the Whitecaps are the only other one. So you get to see Whitecaps away is where you see the Galaxy's away jersey most times in the season. So again, you're right. Very rarely do you see the other one. So you really have to learn to love the home kit. I will say the stripes also do seem a little bit thicker, a little bit stronger stripes. It's not the thin stripe. So again, that's something, if you look, I forget what year it was. Maybe it was 2004. Adidas had kind of a thicker stripe on their style of jersey. So it kind of reminds me of that.
Yeah, so we'll see how that plays out. Hearing that one is, I believe there is a season ticket member event coming up at the end of the month. I've seen this in passing. I have not gotten confirmation of that. So there's a chance that the jersey could be released around that time. Or I've also heard a date in February as sort of the launch. So that's what we're looking at with the LA Galaxy and the kit. You will not see it at Coachella Valley. Remember, they don't wear the new kit in the preseason, so don't expect that coming in.
You're going to see the training shirt. You're going to see the training shirt and the old shorts. They're going to retire the gold shorts and the inverse sash.
Yes, 100%. So we'll see where this one lands. I have a prediction on this kit. I will look at it and go, yeah, okay, whatever. And it won't be that exciting. And then by the end of the year, I'll really like it. So that's usually how this goes. I just have, it's if you get, I guess change is not my best friend. Although new things don't bother me, but for some reason with kits, it's sort of like, all right, I guess, whole deal. And by the end, I'm like, that's actually pretty solid. I can sing the praises of this. The whole deal. So I'll just save all the two-facing that I'll be doing here on this, which is like, yeah, it's fine. The whole deal, and tell you that eventually I'll like it. It's almost like anything, what was it? The glitch jersey, which the Night Navy, right?
the Night Navy that I was the only one that was a fan of. Yeah.
Yes, and I didn't like it. And by the end of it, I was like, it's not bad. I kind of like it.
I own it. Yeah,
it's fine.
There's only so many things you can do. Yeah, go in a different direction. Again, the Night Navy was very close to being a good jersey. Didn't get there, but it was very close.
It was 7 years ago, I believe today, Eric, that you and I were at LAX. Do you remember why we were at LAX?
We were welcoming Juninho back to the LA Galaxy.
That's right.
One of my first COG assignments there.
That's right. So I got an update. I think on Facebook it was like, this is 7. I'm like, really? That seems like a lot.
7 years ago. Yeah, that does seem a lot longer ago.
Yeah.
And then when you see Juninho on the bench with the glasses, he does look 7 years older, as we all do. But you're like, oh yeah, I guess that wasn't recently. 2012. We're a long time. That was a long time ago.
Junie's still the man. Still love it. Every time I run across him, he's super nice. Always comes up and says hi. So always appreciate that. I'm trying to think. Anything else? No, that's it. The Galaxy are in training. I believe there's some two-a-days going on, although I wasn't able to confirm that. So we'll certainly find out. We're expecting the Galaxy have a media availability here, I'm guessing next week. That'll be the first media availability. Some teams have already had their first media availability, so we're sort of like, okay, it's probably time to do that. So we will get to talking to Greg Vanney. We'll get to talk to some of the new players. We'll sort of find out what's going on with training, how everybody's doing, what our favorite thing. What did you do in your time off? Right, like the whole idea is, especially from Greg Vanney, because he always likes to go and travel and go see some like European teams and hang. Like Greg Vanney's like, man, I need a break from soccer. I know what I'll do. Go watch more soccer.
More soccer. Yeah, then he watched some French League 2, and he said, "Get me 5 more defenders. I have a new strategy that I'm going to load." So maybe that's the thought process behind what Kuntz went out and the team went out to get. Maybe it's something Vanney saw in the offseason.
Yeah, Ricky asked, when is the closed door scrimmage again? I can't remember the date. They're playing against Portland Timbers. I believe it's the first. It could also be towards the end of the month. That seems like that's probably pretty close, because you're going to want to start playing some of those scrimmages and some of the things right as you're getting ready to go to CVI, because then you're going to get your first like real sort of quote unquote game minutes. That's one thing to point out. If you're going on Wednesday, the Galaxy may put a first team on Wednesday and may put a second team on Sunday, that type of thing. It may be one of those in terms of how it is. This is very much spring training in terms of, you're going to get, players playing for, 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
This is where you see the 30-30-30. You basically see 3 lineups.
3 lineups is going to go out there. So it should be really fun. So yeah, we'll have all that information as it comes around, and we're waiting for sort of official timelines from the LA Galaxy in terms of what this offseason calendar looks like. I feel like Ricky getting injured and everything has like put through a wrench in like everything, right? And so it's sort of everybody's regrouping, figuring it out, and is going to push that stuff out. So that's what we got. But again, if you're not doing anything on February 8th, you want to do something in the morning. It's a big Super Bowl Sunday, of course. However, the LA Galaxy will be playing the Chicago Fire, and we, of course, will be there at Coachella Valley Invitational to do a live show following the LA Galaxy's match with Chicago Fire. So come on down. Certainly appreciate that. We'd love to have you out there. We're going to have some good guests, have a little Galaxy talk, especially coming fresh off a scrimmage. Always fun. Get to interact with maybe some of the new players, see some people out there. So we're excited about it. We hope you're excited about it. And we'll have 2 VIP passes to Coachella Valley Invitational coming up on Monday. We'll tell you how you can start winning those. All right. So
yeah, I'm excited. Yeah. It'll be a fun time. I'm looking forward to seeing it live and in person, and getting an opportunity to see all the new faces. And of course, connecting with listeners is always a fun time too.
It is. It's always a good time. All right. I think that does it for us. So Eric, or did you have one more thing? Go ahead. Did
we want to talk about the Kobe Jones statue? There's a new,
go ahead. Yes.
There's a new video series that the Galaxy is putting out, carving an icon, talking about the Kobe Jones statue that's going to be debuting, on opening day. So again, if you haven't checked out, how they're building the statue, I always find that stuff fascinating. When we were talking about, okay, Kobe's announced, what's the pose going to be? What's it going to look like? And then you can see little glimpses of what it's going to look like. I would have been a fan of him like tugging on the jersey from that first goal as someone who was there in the Rose Bowl for that opening match and that first goal. It doesn't look like it's going to be there. It looks like it's an athletic motion where maybe he's hitting a volley or taking a shot or something's happening there. So if that's your thing and you enjoy, Galaxy Studios and what they're doing, which shout out to them for the content that they're creating and maybe having to pivot from a Ricky return series into a Kobe Jones statue carving series. But, it's always fun for those, diehards who are in consuming all the content. Shout out to the team for putting out those videos on Kobe Jones. So it looks like it's going to be a cool series to see how the process on how they get it done.
Yeah. Mr. Bravino in the chat room says, I made this joke earlier with Eric.
An injury time.
Yes. Yeah. At the last second, the statue will tear its ACL. Oh, the ACL jokes continue. Here it is, by the way, the LA Galaxy taking on the Portland Timbers, closed-door scrimmage January 23rd. I knew I had seen it. I just wanted to make sure that I was incorrect. So January 20, that I was correct totally. So January 23rd, LA Galaxy, closed-door scrimmage. You will hear probably nothing from that game. It'll be one of those, the teams will be like, we're not gonna release anything, right? The whole deal, and then everybody will find out what the score was and who scored.
Yeah,
so.
There'll be someone who was there and say, there'll be a player who will post a celebration video of them scoring. Go, wait,
that guy scored.
Ramirez scored because he just posted something on his Instagram. So yeah, you'll see something like that.
It'll always be fun. All right, anything else? You good?
That's it. Last shout out again. Going to shout out Rodeo Soccer Club.
Ooh, nice.
USL 1 coming to Salina, Texas, North Texas. So again, I've said it all the time. It's why I supported the LA Galaxy, supporting your home team. Not that I'm not going to still have love for the LA Galaxy, but if there's going to be a team in my hometown, USL 1,
you're going.
I'm excited about it. So shout out to Rodeo Soccer Club bringing USL soccer to Salina, Texas. So exciting times.
Just a shout out if you want to come for train rides this weekend. It is our free train rides weekend. So hop on down Fairview Park in Costa Mesa, or ocmetrains.org. That's where you can find it. No tickets, no reservations. Come on down. Should be absolutely freaking gorgeous weather. The park is super green, Lots of wildlife, all sorts of fun stuff. So come ride on a train, round and circle for about 1.25 miles. Takes you about 15 minutes. Good times. So
yeah,
come on down. Say hi.
Come see the conductor builds.
Yeah,
you got to see everyone, all the constructor bots.
The only thing that saves me is I don't eat whenever I'm running trains on the weekend. Like I just don't eat. I'm just like, I'm too busy running trains. So then that's the only thing that saves me is that I don't just like pound the chow while I'm driving trains as well. So not the case whenever there's meats and stuff like that where we have too much food and I eat constantly while going around. So always good. All right, Mr. Hammer, sir, why don't you take it away? Tell people where they can find you.
All right. As always, you can find me on all the social media platforms at Hammer EV9. That's Hammer EV and the number 9.
If you're looking for me on socials, it's at Galaxy Podcast. Head on over to cornerofthegalaxy.com. Of course, you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, whether that's SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, any of those places. Type in Corner of the Galaxy. Big shout out to the LA Galaxy for inviting us back to CBI for year number 3. We're running it back, baby. We had one good year where, the Galaxy won as a result of us being there. The other 2 times, not so much. That means that this year it's every other one. Yeah, so we're there. So 100%. Let's see. Hope everybody gets ready for our next show on Monday. The Galaxy continue their preseason. We'll have a lot to talk about. For Mr. Eric, the Portuguese Hammer Vieira, I'm Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening to our little Corner of the Galaxy. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening, and we ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.